And right on time. There we go. Just like magic.
Pure Aries.
Pure Aries, pure Mercury's out of retrograde.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's
Well,
not.
almost.
No. I can promise you it is still not out of retrograde. Oh, sorry. Just a quick sec here. This is I had YouTube in a browser open, and it's about 12 seconds delayed. So this big echo going. See, I told you it's not out of retrograde. All right. So one of the things that's been going on this weekend, and I don't know if any of you all have felt this or not, but this is CMEs. You know, the auroras have been just insane. If you're seeing any pictures from Alaska or the various places, it has just been unbelievable. KP7 is high. I saw KP9 in May of 2024, and that was when 5 people in that little 55 plus community in California that I was at passed away that weekend. So we aren't quite there, but it has been affecting me, and I've been feeling it with my heart. So I had a little AFib overnight. Not bad, but it kind of, I don't feel very good the next day, and the medicine slows your heart way down, so kind of makes it difficult for a bit. I spent 2 nights in the van just to get out of town. And when I go out, I wasn't too far away, but when I come back in, I like to top off and just make sure that I've got a full tank. I pulled into a racetrack station to put some diesel in Lord Jupiter. I didn't put diesel in Lord Jupiter.
Oh, no.
3.5 gallons out of 24. So Mercury is not out of razor blade yet. I promise you. It's like
Still moving super slow.
full on. So with that, I wanted to simply announce that anything that I say tonight could just be totally wrong. So I put a disclaimer on here. Yeah, Kristin will keep me plumbed, but I don't know what could say, like the whole thing. So it is a good reminder, though, that this is, that we're just giving you our astrological observations. And one of the things that I think is important on that note is that right now, Kristin, I know I can't make decisions for you. You can't make decisions for me, and nobody should be listening to us tell them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you have to have family meetings, and you have to get your own counsel, and you have to go inside and get your own direction. And that's really important right now, I think.
Yeah, definitely. With this Aries stellium and Saturn and Neptune in Aries, I feel like we're going to talk a lot about that, the independence of it.
Yeah, well, we got a lot to talk about for sure. Now, all of these slides, we've come up with a lot. And when we started creating this, I put a little calendar on here of things coming. But listen, don't worry about taking notes or doing screenshots. This is going to be sent out. You'll get an email if you are in our community on hightimelineliving.com. It's set already to go out at 9 p.m., and I'll make sure that if it doesn't, we'll fix it as soon as we get through. But you should have it at 9 o'clock tonight. You'll have the PDF of all of the slides. And it's the set that we're using, the latest print, okay? So just sit back and relax and chat with us if you have questions. We've got a lot of stuff here, but we want to really talk about what you want to talk about. So now, we did have somebody asked Kristin a while back about how to get into the community thing. They were having trouble doing it. So I just thought I'd show you. Here is the homepage, hightimelineliving.com. There's the community right there. And then that will put you to the next step in the process is this. and click Join Now. This is free. This is how you get in and get these messages that we don't send them out very often, but when they do come, it's, if you're into what we're doing around here, it's worth being on that list. All right, so I'm having a little Mercury issue here. Okay, and once you click on that, you get this. Now, from here, you can join Lucky Stars, or you can just come over here to this free community thing, and that's where you log in. And if you have not logged into the site and you have a button that looks like this takes care of that as well, because this gets you registered for the site. Then it takes you to here, you put your email in, and then I think it either sends you a link or you get a verification or something. But that's how you do it. So I just wanted to give you that so that you could join in and not have any questions or problems, know where you're heading with it, all right? So let's see. Next, then, this was so cool. I saw this morning. Double comet in April. Can you believe that?
No, it's beautiful.
Can you believe we are going to have a double comet? I got all excited when that one popped up for 2026. But this one, so the first one here is labeled for 2026. MAPS is the first initial of the 4 people who were out stargazing in the, I think, Arizona desert, and they saw the comet. And you can see it. I use Star Plus 3D or something, but, where you point your phone to the sky, and it's there. You can see it. But it is going to be best. Well, here's the deal with MAPS. If it goes by the sun and doesn't melt, which is possible, April 4th, then it will be in the sky, the low western sky, after sunset in that time window from the 6th to the 15th. And then this other one, which I guess is a 2025 comet that has come back, will be mid to late April, and it will be low east before sunrise. So we'll be mentioning this on the podcast, but I was excited about that, so I just wanted to share that with you. Okay, now we have obviously a lot going on in our world, and I wanted to just take a quick sec to set the stage, because I don't think we can talk about today that we don't go back and just review what happened in January of 2020. This was when Saturn and Pluto came together in the sky, January 12th, and this was an epic 250-year pattern. And the big deal is because it was in Capricorn, which is Saturn's home turf. So this is Saturn's lair, the 2 cosmic blues brothers. This is transformation on steroids. And that 3 weeks later, of course, we were talking about COVID. So that started the clock. And then if you go back and trace when these have showed up before, 1284, the first one was this bridge between the Dark Ages to the Italian Renaissance. And in the 1300s, they had extreme cold, call it climate change, but it was cold. It froze the crops and livestock, so the food issues. They had a war, and there was the bubonic plague. But out of that emerged the Italian Renaissance. And from that, the Vatican became the political and religious control center of Europe. Fast forward 250 years, 1518. That was Martin Luther and the Protestant Reformation. The Vatican had completely corrupted in those 250 years. The baton, energetically, was passed to London when King Henry VIII broke off, started the Anglican Church. Fast forward, and then, remember, the sun never set on the Roman Empire or the British Empire. This expanded over those 250 years. 2, we come to the late 1770s, and Saturn was not in its own sign. It was over in Libra. So really, it's Pluto in Capricorn that is the big deal. And of course, the new nation was born. the baton passed again to the colonists 250 years forward. We can't find honesty, it seems, these days. And Saturn and Pluto hits in January of 2020, to me, became a baton shift. So when we look at what's going on, and here I put, oh, this is happening next weekend. This is happening next Saturday. And I talk about this in tomorrow's podcast, but I'm not going to tell you the punchline. You'll have to listen. But it's a good one. But those two are in a sextile. So when they conjoined back here, when they came together back here, and then now they're here. So this is the first Ptolemaic aspect that they are making in their journey around the sun. It is a 60-degree sextile aspect apart. And I kind of go through tomorrow on the podcast what that's all about. But I just wanted to show you what that is. Now that brings us to where we are with the business at hand, because on Friday, just before Mercury supposedly came out of Razor Blade, the sun supposedly came into Aries, but I don't trust that it did, Kristin. Do you believe it?
The sun, yeah, I do. But the retrograde, yeah, the retrograde feels like there's some lingering energy.
Yeah. Oh, there's well put. Exactly. There is. So here we begin the new zodiac year. It was Happy New Year on Friday for astrologers. So, Kristin, what are your thoughts on this, at least from the surface? I know we're going to dig in a lot here, but what are some of your thoughts here to kick us off?
Well, it's quite an Aries stellium for this ingress chart, and to have the moon in Aries, Venus in Aries. Now, Venus can be in Aries often in this ingress chart, but to have the moon there is something extra special. Now, I think that with all of this fire in the sky, it really shows that it's going to be a year that energy is very present. Now we have Venus, or we have Mars, Mercury, and the North Node in Pisces. So there's a little bit of that push and pull between the fire and water. You know, those are elements that don't necessarily mesh. But at the same time, too, I think that when it comes to instincts, these are two of the best signs for that.
You know, we have the context of all of this that we've talked about so much on the podcast is this little configuration that we call the Great Pyramid, little stubby pyramid, but why not call it Great Pyramid? And back in February on the 20th, Saturn and Neptune came together at that same point where the sun is right now at 0 Aries. They've obviously ticked on over a little bit. But over the next up to 7 years, at least over the next 2 to 3, Neptune will basically be in this position relative to Pluto and Uranus. Saturn will move on through. So we're seeing step by step, bit by bit, how this is unfolding. And we had mentioned so many times, the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, the Revolutionary Wars. The last time Neptune was in Aries, the Civil War. Saturn, the last, time 2 times ago when it was here was 1968, and that was the assassination of MLK and RFK. And then this one, Uranus, has been in there for all of the conflicts, World War II, the Civil War, and the Revolutionary War. So is it any really surprise where we are? I mean, history is not a guarantee, but there was just so much of that energy there that we kind of figured that boy, if we don't have one, it's going to be a paradigm shifter. Now, what has happened is the sun, which is identity. And I know you could say, whose identity? Well, on a personal level, yours has joined this party. In fact, Kristin, how do you think this whole thing? Okay, I just described the mundane collective description of this. What about on a personal level?
Well, I think independence is probably my favorite word for this year. I think that there's going to be a call to yourself, a call to whether that is, being honest with yourself and what you actually want, whether that is pursuing a dream or, just standing in your own truth. There's a call to an independence that I think that a lot of people will gain over this next year.
Yeah. And are you getting that more from Pluto or where?
Well, I mean, Pluto is a piece of it. That sextile and the beginning cycle between Saturn and Pluto is a part of that. Yeah. But the Aries ingress is a energy that will last until 2027. And granted, we'll still have Saturn and Neptune in Aries for 2027's equinox. But I think overall, having the stellium, especially between Saturn, Neptune, and the Sun, being so close for this ingress, there is a extra to that combined energy that we do not see in 2027.
And then, of course, the last time we were together with Elisa, we talked about the eclipses.
Mm-hmm.
And throw that on there, especially that full lunar blood moon eclipse, I know was quite powerful, quite potent, especially triggering things. And that, of course, all of that eclipse energy will continue on for the next about 3 to 6 months.
Right. I mean, we have the nodes that are shifting this year. And so by the time we hit that equinox in 2027, those nodes will be in Leo and Aquarius. So this is like that final zone of this Pisces and Virgo energy. Now we still have one last eclipse for that access in 2027. So it's not quite ending after the node shift this year. But at the same time, too, it is the last one before the next equinox.
Now, if you guys have any questions, thoughts, comments, etc., drop them in the chat. We'll put them up. We have Asha from Canada. Hey, back to you. Hope you're doing well. You have probably seen some amazing displays in the sky this weekend. Oh, my. I wish I was there. Diane's with us. Good to see you. Love all the little, what do you call those? Emojis.
Emojis.
Right? Emojis, yeah. That's great. Love it. We put some bullet points on here that I think you guys could probably just read from the slides when you get them. I announced earlier, some people probably have joined at 9 p.m. tonight. You're going to get the slides emailed out if you're in the community at hightimelineliving.com. So, if you are not and you don't know how to get in, I did a little walkthrough at the beginning. Maybe we'll do it again later on, but you could go back and watch the replay of how to get into the community. But the slides, the full slide PDF will go out at 9 p.m. Eastern. A couple of points. I guess we could just run through these. Gemini rising of this chart. So whenever we have an ingress chart, like or a equinox or solstice chart, that's kind of like a natal chart for the next 90 days or so. So we look at it of what might these 90 days hold. And that moment when the sun moved into Aries, Gemini was on the ascendant. And so that puts the focus of this, as we've seen so much with Gemini on the ascendant, it puts the whole focus of this up in the 10th house. So for a lot of us, that could be, I'm a Gemini rising, so that's, you're looking at my chart just about right there of where the planets in the sky are. And a career is going to be a lot to focus on, perhaps, if you have that kind of configuration. It would be good to put your natal chart up and look at this from that perspective. With the moon over there in the 11th, that's a big indication of the people, and we're seeing that. We're all being affected by everything that's going on right now. Jupiter is in this trine up here. So here's Jupiter, and here's Mars and Mercury, and it's in this trine going up that direction and to the North Node. So it is a good time now that Jupiter has also gotten out of retrograde, that this is a good time for initiations. Expanded thinking, Mercury. Expanded actions, Mars. So those are good positive things to be focusing on right now. That energy is only going to get stronger and better now that we're moving some things forward. I think, what do we have, 6 weeks before Pluto goes into retrograde? We have 6 weeks, I think, with nothing in retrograde.
Yeah, something like that.
Here are some things you might watch for. Just be careful over driving still. Watch out for the anger and aggression. We're seeing that on a big stage level now of acting out from anger. The other thing, and we're seeing this on the national, world scale, is just confusion, like not seeing things the way they really are. Watch out for that on an individual level. Be real. Examine things not for how you want them to be, but examine things from what they really are. That Saturn is all about, make it real. See, that's the big dynamic, too, between Saturn and Neptune, because Neptune wants to be all ethereal and dreamy and la-la land and all of that, and Saturn is like, no. Come on, hit the pavement. Get your feet on the ground. You're dreaming here. Be solid. We need to run the race. That's Saturn. Delays, lost love, etc. The shadow of Jupiter could really mess the unclear thinking up. And even to the point, if it was on the shadow side, because it's in that strong aspect to Mercury, could even be some mental breakdown stuff. With Neptune at the table, we could have a desire to just numb out through all kinds of various unhealthy ways. Falling back into old patterns. All of that could be offshoots from this. I see a couple more comments. Kristin, let me hit these 3 slides real quick. You came up with this, the heat wave, the heat dome thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is already talks of a super El Nino. And so the heat that is supposed to hit us this year is striking. They're already talking about it. And with the massive Aries stellium that we have for this ingress, I would not be surprised if these are predictions that are going to come true.
How about that one? Yuma, Arizona, 112. I think it was on the 20th, on Friday.
Yeah, already hitting it.
Like, whoa, wow, ouch. It's early, way too early for that. All right, let's catch up with some folks here. So we've got a great representation. Look at this from Chile. Love it. we may talk. You're on my short list. Let's just put it that way. Thomas is itchy.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas is itchy, and you are on my short list, Chile. So I might need some help. Oh, here's a place I might come in the van. If I venture out on a long van trip, I might be knocking in your backyard, Carrie. So we'll see. And I'll try to announce it on the podcast if I can. Oh, hey, awesome, Jamie. Glad you're here. We try to have fun. We try to just go through some stuff and then make it fun too. Gemini rising was just accepted to look at here. New position within a department that I've always wanted to work in. You can't make this stuff up. That is so cool. Well, I mean, the deal is because
the 10th house is busy.
Yeah. See, there's all that power and all that thrust that came right into your career area, however it aligned, based on your rising sign, but it's there. I mean, it's in the neighborhood. And congratulations. That's all I can say is that's awesome. That is just great. Big congratulations. And thanks for letting us know. That's encouraging. When the sky meets people's lives, it's just really, really awesome. Hey, New York. I would love to get up that way this summer. I just would love to. I hope it works out. I'm also got my eye on the Great Lakes too, your area, Kristin. So we'll see how it all shakes out. After this weekend, I may not get out of the back 40 here. So who knows? You got some folks from Canada. This is great. I will try to come up that way. I would. I've got, I have my best buddy from high school. We're both still kicking. And he's up in Red Deer in Alberta. So that's between Calgary and Edmonton. And I imagine that the light show up there is just phenomenal. I've got my good buddy Bill Palinuk that I've had on the Subconscious Mind Mastery podcast a couple of times. He's in North Dakota. I got a lot of places to try to visit this. Oh, look at that. Almost a lunar return on this energy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, in Gemini. Sorry, I was in the 11th, positionally in the 11th. I was thinking about that. Okay. All right, good deal. And now keep in mind, if you guys have any questions or anything specific that you would like to talk about, we're all about it. So let us know. There were a couple other things that we had laid out on that. I'm going to move on just so we can cover some other things. But you'll get the slides so you can look back through those. Here was looking ahead, and Kristin was onto this, so I'm going to let you kind of walk through this. But she just wanted us to take a look at 2027, which I think is totally relevant.
Yeah, I just think it's a good idea to just know where we're going, to just think about 2026 as the bridge to this 2027 chart. And so as we see that conjunction of Neptune and Saturn have separated a little bit, so it's just not as tight as this current energy, and the Aries stellium has broken up. Obviously, there's more oppositions that we are rolling into with that 2027 as well. So I think the concentrated Aries is really where that push to independence comes from this next year, because when we get into 2027 and Aries and Leo are so much a focus, this is going to be that call to working with others from what we are building now, that fall to push what you are wanting to build. Because as Thomas said, that Neptune and Saturn are kind of those opposite energies, but really it is a call to start building visions and really be able to create from this fire and from that inspiration. And so now, as we go through 2027, this is then that push to call on others to really kind of work through those things that we are creating now.
Good. Is that, on this scale of what we're going through in the world. Does that chart look better to you or more challenging?
I mean, I think they both have challenges as well as positives. If I am evaluating the challenges for this year, we have the station Mercury that is not super happy in Pisces. We have Venus and Jupiter that are in a square. And so there are tension within this current year. Now, the opposition between Venus and Mars is a little bit spicy, but I think that overall there is pros and cons to both. I think the opposition with 2027 speaks more to having to balance rather than having to take action. These are things that we're having to evaluate after the growth that it goes through this year.
Good. We have some more comments, and I want to get to these. These are good. First of all, yes, Diane, I know. I know. I could stay out for a year in the van, just go hang out with listeners all over the country. That would be really cool, including this guy, Johnny Paycheck. been on our YouTube channel for how many years? Going strong. Hope you're doing well. We need to catch up for time, right? This is good. Mars trine Jupiter on Saturday. Met an awesome person who may get a new position with at whole life saving. Sorry, hold on. That wasn't supposed to happen. New position, whole life saving museum. Hull is a peninsula of land that sticks out into Massachusetts Bay. Come visit. Oh, wow. Oh, that is some of the most precious. I love the New England. We did some Bassmaster shows back up there at Thousand Islands back in the Clayton, New York, actually, back in the 80s and 90s. Oh, just loved being up there. It was so cool. All right, we will see. I'm putting it out there to the universe, that is for sure. James. Howdy, deadheads, shouting from the rolling hills of Arkansas. Love it. That's where I went to college. It was great. All right, now here's a let's get real question. I've seen many astrologers strongly urging people to move out of the United States this year. What are your thoughts? Kristin, you want to just hit that from your perspective? I'll leave it up here while we're talking about it.
I feel like I'm a little torn in telling people to move. I mean, but at the same time too, I also see why. And I'm not I think either way, honestly, I have family here, but I also see the benefit of leaving at this time and how that could, be a great choice for some people. I think that we are often at war. How much of our life will change? Of course, there will be struggles that will come up, I think, over this next year. And within those, there will be more people that do decide to leave. But I think to say yes, go is a little bit strong. I know that there are a lot of astrologers that are fear-mongering a little in that topic. So I would say trust your gut. I don't think that people need to rush, but at the same time too, if you are getting inklings, I wouldn't deny them.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to put a map up and show you some astrocartography of the United States and the world here in a minute. This goes back to our disclaimer. If you weren't here at the very beginning, I put this up, and I was joking because I had a bad experience over the weekend. If you didn't hear the first part of our little show tonight, you might want to catch it on the replay. But that we are really here to just kind of talk you through what we see in the sky. But this is such an important time that you need to get your instructions from your own intuition. And if you have professional people that are on your team of advice, consult with them. But what I wouldn't do is get advice from random astrologers on YouTube. And Kristin's shaking her head yes. Well, the thing is, it's, nobody sitting on this side of the screen can tell you what to do.
Right.
Because where did you come from? Were you born here or did you immigrate in? Are you here legally or not? Are you concerned about ICE? And there are so many people who are right now. People who have worked here for 25 years are concerned. So there's just such a dynamic that, there's no one size fits all. Right. Now, I'm going to tell you the macro of what I'm seeing. And again, if you didn't hear what we talked about at the beginning, all of this, to me, is only framed in the context of what happened in January of 2020, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, because this started the baton to be passed. And I put this slide up of how it was. So if you didn't see that, it's at the beginning, or you'll get these slides if you're part of our community on hightimelineliving.com. Let me just go through that again. If you're not in our community, here's how you do it real quick. hightimelineliving.com. Click on community right there. It will take you to here. Hit join now over there on the left. It will take you to this. Hit the free community discussion on the right. It will ask for your email, and then it will slide you on in. Okay? So that's how you get to that. Now, I'm going to, since we're talking about where to go, this is the Equinox map. And this will show up better on your PDF. You can see things a little bit more clearly. But in the United States, it comes down through, and I'm sorry, y'all, I didn't print this out where I can read it, and I'm not sure what lines these are. Just look on the PDF, but you'll see some activity. This runs right through LA, I know that. And I think it was a lunar line.
Yeah, you have the lunar line at the top. The first one is Pluto, and then the next one is Mars.
Okay. Well, if y'all can see it, great. I can't. I can't. So there you go. The greatest chant of elderly people. Where's my glasses? Can't find my glasses. Oh, they're on your face. Or up on your head. So, all right. So here's what I'm going to say to this. I was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, beautiful little flyover town, Christian parents, fundamental, Republican voting family. A wonderful upbringing as I'm looking at things today. It was awesome. I'd go back to it that fast. And my parents were both, my dad directly involved in World War II. He was in the Pacific right after the bomb was dropped. And my mom, her whole family basically supported war efforts in various ways. So these were amazingly patriotic people. My mom toured Europe for about 3 months after World War II was over, and the U.S. dollar was incredibly favorable to go to Europe. You could go over there for a nickel, basically, on the dollar, and the red carpet was rolled out everywhere because we used that currency offset to go over there and rebuild. And Americans were heroes for decades after World War II. People had long memories. And then everything started to change. And all of this stuff that we are now seeing come out, my mom was talking about back in the 1960s, and I clearly remember it. And she saw it because she had this other perspective so strongly that once she started to see the cracks, she was like, wait a minute, what is this? This isn't what we fought for. And yet, there was a ship sailing in another direction. So that's kind of my context. My dad was a retail stockbroker. And in 1971, a lot of you have heard about this recently, Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard. So the way that it used to be is, I think you know, that for there to be more currency printed or generated, there had to be offsetting gold, physical gold, in Fort Knox, Kentucky, locked up in a vault. And they couldn't increase the monetary supply without increasing the gold supply. Richard Nixon took us off of that in 1971. And 5-6 years later, there was the worst hyperinflation that this country has ever experienced. During the Reagan administration, Ronald Reagan increased the debt ceiling. You want to guess how many times in 8 years, Kristin?
I'm going to guess 8.
How about you were close? 18. You had the 8. 18 times in 8 years, he increased the debt ceiling. Spend more money, spend more money, spend more money. My dad was a retail stockbroker who started his career in the 50s. So when Nixon took us off the gold standard in the 1970s, my dad had almost 20 years of experience as a stockbroker. And back then, it was all call your broker and he'd put the order in. You know, it'd take 30 minutes to buy 100 shares of AT&T back in the day. And by the end of the Reagan administration, our debt was about $3 trillion. And instead of now having gold back the new money, how they were funding it was to sell United States treasuries. And that was not a bad deal because in the early 80s, those suckers were paying about 18%. Could you imagine getting supposedly the safest financial instrument on the planet that paid you 18% and you could lock it up for 30 years? A lot of people did. And it was safe back then still. But his comment was, and we did not have the dynamic that we do now. We had very positive leadership in Washington. Whether you like Ronald Reagan's policies or not, he did rally the country. And he rallied our allies as well. So it was an upbeat vibe all in all. So buying U.S. treasuries was secure. But Dad said if those countries that are buying our treasuries ever stop buying our treasuries, then it's going to be a whole house of cards come tumbling down. And he could see that 40 plus years ago. Well, as of April of last year, when Trump announced the tariffs, and I think you guys know, I'm politically neutral. It's one bird, two wings, and the bird is terminally ill. That's how I look at it. So I don't have skin in either game, and I'm not blaming Donald Trump for all the ills of the world or think that he's the white knight on the white horse or the knight on a white horse to come down and rescue us and take us all to heaven. I don't think either side. But I just try to observe what's going on. And when I saw the world react to those tariff announcements, Dad's words were echoing in my ears because the world started running away from the United States. And what happened on February 28th, and I think I have this slide, isn't this the, this was interesting. So remember, we talked about Saturn and Pluto being this baton is going to get passed away from something to something else. That I'll let you guys look at the PDF on this, but here's the one that caught my eye. Here's our Saturn-Neptune Aries group running right through Beijing, China. So on the day that the Iranian bombs started to fall, this super powerful aspect in the sky that we've heard people get jobs and things have clicked career-wise is running right through Beijing, China. And I was like, oh, you can't make this stuff up. And to that end, one of the things that will challenge anybody in an economic situation like this is inflation. And what has come out, obviously, this year is so much. This whole pedophilia thing is embarrassing. I mean, quite honestly. And I know some of you are not from the United States, and you could opine as to looking in from outside, but, you know, the reputation is, oh, that's the country that's run by all the pedophiles. And that's just embarrassing. I got no defense. They're covering it up. I mean, I did a radio show with a guy a couple of years ago. His line, he had a great line. I was born at night, Kristin, but not last night.
Mm-hmm.
We're astronomically, irrecoverably in debt. We're in so much debt, it would be like if you made $50,000 a year and we're in debt $50 million. There's no way you're going to pay it back. And there's no way we're going to pay this back. And the whole bird is corrupt. So, and then I'll tell you the one that kind of got me is with this glyphosate thing. When he signed that executive order making it a protected bird. Glyphosate, Roundup.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was the one thing that said, we're willing to poison you. Yeah. And I know they've been doing it for a long time, but they were willing to say, we are going to officially document that we are willing to spray. So my dad, this brings back so much of my upbringing, you guys. My dad, when he was 44, started getting hoarse at work. And they found a nodule, they found a growth on his vocal cord. So, you know, you have two vocal folds like this. And it was on one side, but not the other. 1968. There was no cancer treatment back then. They had radiation. There wasn't any chemo. And they had surgery. So he opted for surgery. And they took it out, and my mom found some stuff that through natural means, my dad never had a recurrence. But he had this scar in his throat where they went in and got that vocal cord out. So he talked with a whisper like this. And we try to think of where did that cancer come from. About 6 months before that time, we had a little farm outside of Tulsa. And they got home movies of Dad mixing 2,4-D, which was Agent Orange, back from the Vietnam days, mixing it in a barrel and spraying it in the pasture. Herbicide. That's what they're talking about. So I've got an emotional connection about somebody coming along and saying, we're going to memorialize the spraying of a hyper carcinogenic herbicide on your food. And you say, well, they do it everywhere. Yeah, they don't do it everywhere. There's a lot of places in Europe that won't allow it. I'll bet Chile doesn't allow it. Mexico does. Canada does. But anyway, putting all of that together, and then I've got one big consideration, and that is my heart sometimes doesn't beat right. So I've got to have good medical care, but maybe this whole thing about getting a better food plan going, living healthier, going off the Mediterranean or South American coast or something like that. I've been looking at it. Here's the other problem. Most places you'll get a 90-day visa. Some you'll get 180, so you can stay for 6 months. And a few, like Costa Rica, is more favorable. But a lot of these places you have to be moving constantly. And that would be more of a pain to me than a solution. At the same time, I think we have digital money coming. I think we have currency issues coming. I think we have hyperinflation to the likes that you've never dreamed of. The market, I don't know. I mean, and I'm just tired of all the lies. I'm tired of all the lies. And I don't know where you can go to get away from that, quite honestly. But boy, I sure would like to be reading some different headlines. That's for sure. So that's a real long answer. But you asked, and that's part of what we're here to talk about. You know, it's like, because it's all through these charts. And you go through all these charts, and that's exactly what you see. And I would not take that advice from me or any other YouTube astrologer. Do your own searching. I told you my story, but mine isn't yours. And I wish you the best in coming up with your own answers. Staying and fighting. Now, that's another one. In fact, you know what? When I started to kind of put this to my intuition, that was what I got back. Carrie, I think it's like what we were just talking about. Yes, she is.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Her go on the website. There's a readings tab. That's where you'll find it. All right. Well, contact Kristin for now, and I might be back. I might get rid of the van, because if I'm going to blow it up by putting gasoline in the diesel fuel tank, and I might just sit in my chair and, do readings. Maybe that's one thing I can't screw up. Hello, LA. I do miss being out. I've thought about California a lot, and I do miss you. Kristin's got roots right there too.
I do.
Yeah, it is a wonderful place. That is so true. The dollar has lost 90% of its purchasing power in the last 100 years. And this is the other problem, see? And this is, the implications of this war are just going to be absolutely huge. The meteors, the two comets that we're having, I think that one that, I don't know, what's that Atlas thing that they were talking about might be throwing some of these off. I don't know from an astrological perspective. Not sure on that. Do you have any thoughts on that, Kristin?
No, I think when it comes to astrology, they don't really have a full tie, but at the same time, too, I do think that it is a call to look at the sky. It is a call to see the magic in the universe, and it is a fun thing to at least be able to see if you can.
There was a shot, there was a video of a Little League baseball team. Some of y'all may have seen this. And it was like from home plate, and the umpire was standing right there in front of the camera, and it was a big shot of the sky. So it was like the catcher was taking this little movie. And the umpire's just kind of looking around, and he looks over here, and then he looks over here, and right there, the little meteor comes racing down through the sky. The guy completely missed it. Oh, He just right there in perfect position to see it and just totally missed it. I'm like, that would have been, talk about making you sick if that was you and you were an astrologer. Oh boy. I agree. I mean, I think it's all coming out. It is. I'm a Cancer stellium sun, Mercury and Mars. There's that Sun-Mars thing I talk about a lot. You don't want to be moving. So I don't want to be moving all around. Love home, Cancer. Home is where the heart is. They say, see, this is the thing. I mean, I don't have family attachments. I don't have that home attachment. I have a van. I have a Sprinter van. So I agree. And see, that's her astrological composition. I have 3 planets in the 5th house and Jupiter in Sagittarius and Gemini rising. I can't sit still, you know? This is why we're saying you have to do what's right for you. I couldn't get on here and say, oh, you should move, you should do this, you should do that. It would be crazy. Oh, well, thank you. When somebody asks, I just, it's like, but that's my perspective. Wow. Wow. Okay, let's see what else we got here. We got so much in here. We broke out some of the things here. You can have this in the PDF. These were some breakouts of there's the big 3 right there without all the other embellishments in the chart.
We can't see it.
Oh, sorry. Boom. Now you can. There we go. I think I had that in there. So there's Sun, Neptune, Sun, Saturn. Oh, these were the conjunctions. See, so the Sun has come into Aries, right? And 6 degrees in, it's going to hit Neptune. I don't know why. I don't know what this is, you guys. These are 2027 and 2028. Sun's going to hit both of those on the way out this time. Let's see what we've got here. Oh, here we go. Okay. So there is a lady on Twitter. Her name is Olga Morales. She's Australian. And for years, she is in her early 60s, and in her early teens, she started studying astrology. And she fell in love with all of the work from W.D. Gann. He's from 100 years ago, and he was just, boy, they broke the mold from him. However, if he could be reincarnated, and if his death time and Ray Merriman's birth time sync up, Ray Merriman could be an incarnation of W.D. Gann. I mean, Ray is just, the more I learn about him, the more I'm just in awe. But Olga has put together a lot of material about Gann's work, particularly related to the stock market. And she has posted generously on Twitter. A lot of people will take her posts and put them out and not give her credit for it. And that's so sad. And it's one of those things that she's several times almost kind of quit posting on Twitter because of it. But she put up something the other day that said, coming up, starting on Wednesday, that for about a week, there was a difficult aspect in Donald Trump's chart, and it also fell into the United States chart. And I got to looking on here, and if you just look at the transits, I mean, this is really it. This is the one. That Saturn in the sky will be directly across from his natal Neptune, which is in retrograde, which is in the money house. But all of this is in the 2nd, 8th axis. Sorry, I am so sorry. I'm not doing there we go. Saturn in the sky is opposite Donald Trump's natal Neptune in Libra. This is on the second eighth axis. So this is a money aspect. And it's a cardinal opposition. So the cardinal makes it even stronger. So I wanted to just punch through this real quick. And again, don't worry about capturing it. It's all in the slides. But when we think about Saturn being of reality and accountability and consequences, across from Neptune of illusions, confusion, that there is this element of seeing reality differently. So I broke these 4 different areas down. The disillusion could certainly be activated by the Aries Vortex, and I think we're seeing that play out. The reality check is, what, a week or so ago, he said, I just moved from my gut. I don't know how that can be happening with Saturn so strong right now, but, miscalculations. The reality is there's no support around the world. And a lot of areas have been jeopardized. And again, I'm not being political here. This Fed announcement last week where Jerome Powell said we've never seen zero growth in our economy for jobs. Now they're talking about sending the 82nd Airborne over there, our most elite fighters, to a desert. Where do you hide in a desert? So for our person who said they were going to stay and fight, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, we need patriots now to, people that like 250 years ago. But when are we, the people, going to get tired enough of all of this that we'll take action? And then what action would we take right now? I don't know. It's all so fragmented. But boy, do we ever need this. Do we ever? So it is a money thing. I think we can be watching for that. The cardinal element plays out not only here, but in other places as egos are amplified, having to be right. We're not acting out of patriotism right now, it seems. You have some thoughts on that?
Well, I think with the Pluto out of bounds is really what I'm watching when it comes to the people standing up. I think that when it comes to revolutions, Pluto's out of bounds is one of the main things that we kind of look at. And this is Pluto that will be to the south of us, which is normally when the people rise up. When Pluto out of bounds to the north, it is when the regimes rise. And so we are in this zone between starting last year in 2025 to 2030 or 2032. So when it comes to August 12th and that Pluto is in that zone again through December, I think we'll see a lot more initiation or a lot more clues as to what that energy will be. And then it will be recurring for the next few years. And we'll kind of have more of a outline in what it will be for us to stand up and be the people that can kind of push forth the America that we wish to see.
Interesting here. This is the first date that where Pluto is out of bounds, but Mars will already be out of bounds on that first date. I was like, there's exactly what you were just talking about.
Yeah, having both of them out of bounds at the same time is an interesting energy. And I could see where come fall, this will be a time that will have that extra push and motivation to stand up.
Let's see what else we have here. Mars Jupiter coming up. This trine. You've kind of been studying that.
Yeah, I have. When it comes to the two of them in a trine for the Equinox chart, this is a really interesting piece, especially because equinoxes are always Aries. And so Mars's placement is a big factor of where I like to look to see where motivation is at. And so to have Mars in Pisces, this is that call to action guided by intuition. I think that's why it's one of the main factors of this, as well as the fact that Mercury is stationed in Pisces too within that same dynamic. But for this in particular, that flow between Jupiter and Mars is really great. I mean, Jupiter is exalted in Cancer as well, so this is a excellent energy to have a trine between the two of them. And when it came to the equinox chart of 2025, Mars was in Cancer at 20 degrees. So Jupiter is now at the point that Mars was. And so it's bringing the blessings of the motivation that happened from this past year. There's a connection between the two equinoxes that fall between these two planets. And so to have them in this harmonious place really shows a growth of opportunity, especially wherever Cancer lies within your chart.
Excellent. That's a big one.
Definitely.
That's a big one, especially right now, right? We pulled it, so this will be in the PDF that should have gone out 8 minutes ago. There's the pyramid, which we have to look at that in the context of everything going on in the sky right now. That is still the aspect. In fact, for right now, that combined with Mars, Jupiter, there you go. You know, that's kind of what we're looking at. Uranus and Taurus at 29 degrees, and we got so much stuff going on with money that would not be a surprise at all if we have, and look at this. This is, what are we talking about here? This is early April.
Yeah. When we have Venus that will make its conjunction to Uranus at 29 degrees, and then the fact that they both ingress into Gemini within 48 hours of one another is a really interesting energy. So I wouldn't be surprised if money conversations do start to spring up more come end of April.
Good. Good point. Here was the United States chart, and I do want to show this because we're back to this food supply thing. Here is July 2027 that will be in this Uranus return in the United States, where Uranus has come all the way back around to where it was in 1776. I've been using the Sibley chart for all of this. I think it makes a lot more sense. But, you know, here's where Uranus is at 29, just before going into Gemini. So this is early April of this year. But the sixth house represents agriculture, food supply. And I remember when Uranus moved in here, I remember on the podcast, I was looking at this. I think I was in California. But I was just saying, you know, here again, you might have a family meeting and discuss if it is appropriate for you to take a look at something related to the food supply, putting a little aside, et cetera. And there are big moves on this, obviously, and a lot of things that we've heard over the years. But just saying that between now and when we move into this in the summer of 2027, we're still in this area now, and Uranus is going to be a lot more activated here. It was strong when it moved in, but obviously we didn't have anything super significant back then. Question is, might we now, or between here and now? And here's another one of these issues is, you've been keeping up with the fertilizer situation? You've heard about that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So because of the situation going on with the Strait of Hormuz, two big critical elements are not getting through. One is fertilizer, the other is helium. And helium is used in a lot of different things. You would be surprised. And there's not a lot of it produced in the United States. There are a few pockets, like in West Texas, and then there's another pocket in Arizona, but not much. So with that stymied, they're talking about 40% of the farmers. I saw the number this afternoon. It was 40%. We might have a crop shortage of up to that extent in the United States. And then that would affect Mexico and Canada and all the other areas where food is grown that, is passed around the northern hemisphere.
Yeah, I think with the massive heat that,
and on top of it.
On top of the two. And another thing that I've looked at is actually an asteroid series, and she is associated with wheat, and right now she's hanging out with Pluto. And so that's another kind of just thing that I've kept in mind for this as well. And I think going back to the whole glyphosate conversation is really just being aware of where the food is coming from, and whether that is flour that you are getting from here or flour that's imported or any other type of grain. I think that it is important to just make sure that you know the process, because it's definitely more prevalent than, and I think more people are becoming aware of that too.
Interesting. Thank you for those thoughts. For sure. So yeah, wanted to point that out. Here's when the sun gets over to Uranus. That will be, what do we got here in May, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that will be another, it's so funny how this south node this yod to the south node keeps coming up. And it's almost like it's just saying, be sure your sins will find you out. I mean, it's reckoning of all the things that are coming up and out. And it's just like this spilling out. It really is. I do agree. We need rebuilders. We need people who are going to stay and rebuild. That is true. We absolutely do. Now the pyramid, we've got two of them. Look here. This is another big one this summer, isn't it, Kristin?
Yeah. To have Jupiter in Leo and opposing Pluto, that is definitely an aspect I have my eye on.
That could bring a lot of challenges right there on top of all of this.
Yeah, especially to know where 2027 is leading with that same opposition energy. This is going to be the start of it, and it will be a continuation, because now with Pluto in Aquarius, anything that is ingressing into Leo will start off with that opposition.
Here was the Equinox chart, 0 Aries over the United States chart. You guys can look at that. Kind of, here's a big one, is this Jupiter-Sun position. Jupiter's already passed over the Sun, but few little bullet points on that of things coming up on the United States chart.
I do love to see the moon on Chiron, though. That does give me some hope.
Right here? Let me go back.
Yeah, the moon and Chiron conjunct.
Right here.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that's true. That's true. Well, and that plays into your triggering, like the what could combine with the unrest that could come from the, I say unrest from the standpoint of, aren't we all getting a little bit antsy now?
Right.
It's like, I think we all could say, hey, we've had enough of this.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have to figure out what to do, how to do it, how to operate within a system that is badly broken. What do we do? But you're exactly right. That moon representing the people.
Right.
Where is the solution going to come from? Is the solution going to come from the politicians, or is it going to come from us, from the people, from we the people? That's a duh question. If you turn this over to the people, Gianni DePoce did Saturday's financial newsletter. His third section there, he talked about all this poly market stuff, and the betting on everything. Like he was like, if there's an outcome, they're monetizing it, anything. And it was interesting. As a Gemini rising, I was like, oh, I need to take a look at this. But his point was that you have opinion polls from all these professional pollsters. His point is, if you just put people out there and let them put their money on an outcome, they'll tell you what their prediction is going to be a lot more accurate than that pollster. So very interesting that, the idea is that if we could just somehow turn all of this mess back to the people, we probably could fix it or get close, or at least move it way forward. So that would be encouraging. That would be great. We the people, right at the very beginning, the whole thing. We got 3 little quick comments and then we'll call it a night here. Is Olga on Blue Sky? I don't know, and I do so little on social media. The reason I'm on Twitter is because there's a really good trading community, the markets, and I get a lot of market information on Twitter. So that's why I'm on there, and there's a good astrology community, a decent astrology community there. But that's mostly what I search up is market-related stuff. So I don't know, and I don't do any other social media. So I've got one app. Well, 2. I got the Facebook app because we've got our group still. I had a thought pop into my mind regarding the United States profection year in 2026. This is interesting. Turning 250 on July 4th. I had to count it out. It'd be a long count. Glad you did.
Yeah,
absolutely. Math. Glad you did. You could do it on a spreadsheet, I guess, but yeah, it will be the 11th house. Now that is interesting. So coming up, so now we're in the 10th. Wow, that's really interesting because the 10th house represents the leader and
yeah. How we're perceived.
That kind of nation. Yeah. Well, and also it is the king,
Right.
So this has been the year of the Trump for sure. And now it's shifting to the year of the people.
Yeah. And I think that's a really interesting point too, that when it comes to just Trump being president, it's way different than we've seen anybody hold office. It's a sort of brand that he's kind of kept going. It's less about him being president and more about him being Trump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, neither of us are political animals. So we're not advocating for or against. It's just observing what's going on and how it affects us all, how it affects our security. Now here we go. Grow vegetables and barter with the neighbors for farm eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Started growing our food and building communities that can support the mindset. Self-reliance is about to smack us in the face.
Ain't it, though? Boy, howdy.
There you go. You know, again, I've thought about that for myself, and this is where we all have to make our own decisions. Unfortunately, physically, I couldn't do this. I'd have to fold into a community that was already very established and do my little part, you know, go feed the chickens in the morning or something, but I couldn't build pens and fences and stuff and mow in 90-degree heat and all that. I can't do it. So, but boy, I love that. I love that. That was, that's exactly it. I had that when I moved to North Carolina in 2021. I was like, oh, this would be perfect for that kind of thing. And there are a lot of such communities in and around the Asheville area. More love, please. See the world, nature and natural world and universe so abundant for us all. We have to see it and feel it. The lens matters. It truly, I get it. I get it. What do we talk about on the podcast so much. Andre Barbeau's comment that this is going to be a time of, he calls it a great reset of epic proportion of advancing civilization from this aspect. So I get that. We have talked about that at length. What we were doing tonight is shining a little bit on the shadow, but I get it. I get it. And you know, the key and the thing is holding that vision that it is all going to be amazing on the other side of this. I keep thinking there's going to be a spiritual enlightenment that's just going to blow our minds.
I agree. And I think that that's part of the whole vision, is doing it for people and for love. And we, the people, want to see nothing but the best for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. To help repair and rebuild for the golden era. Here to help and help repair and rebuild for the golden era. Love that. Yes. Won't it be exciting when we can see that turning? You know, when we can see that pivot. Right now, what we see is tearing the wall down. Remember, the last time that Saturn and Neptune conjoined, the Soviet bloc fell, starting with the Berlin Wall. Starting with Ronald Reagan's speech in 1989, Mr. President, tear down this wall. And it all had to get torn down before it could be rebuilt. I was in Russia in 1992. I was in Moscow, and then we went to Siberia. I was shooting video, and there was one McDonald's at Red Square. It had been open for, I don't know, 6 months or something, long enough that the 2-mile lines were down to outside the door. But we went in and got ourselves a McDonald's in Red Square. And I also remember on that trip seeing a potato truck parked on a sidewalk and a line of maybe a dozen or 20 people standing behind it, moving up to get a few potatoes. And we were invited into people's flats, and they'd open up their refrigerator, and there might be 4 or 5 items in there, and they wanted to share. A little piece of bread, a little jelly, some tea. That's all they had. But they were amazed to see Americans as we were amazed to see Russians and to be in their homes, and they were so inviting. It was just amazing. Went back about 3 years later, And you would have thought instead of Moscow, we were in Paris. It was so westernized. Boom, it happened that fast. It was amazing how fast it happened. So once it pivots, once the wall comes down, once the pivot happens, that's when it's going to get really exciting. It truly is. That is going to be great.
Yeah, we're in that zone of Pluto sextile Saturn. This is that building time. This is the door opening. And if we bring it back to that Saturn-Pluto conjunction, Pluto doesn't create the problem, it exposes it. And, we're now seeing what the issues are.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. And it's hard to look at the shadows. It is, In fact, my point of what I was saying of I sure would like to read some different headlines is I'd like to be in a higher vibration. It's thick right now around here. It's thick. And yet the pivot is going to, the shift is going to happen. I do also acknowledge and tremendously respect that Saturn-Pluto conjunction in 2020 and what it means. And it very well could mean that the United States is not the forefront that it has been going forward. It might mean that it's more of a coalition. It might mean that it's not, before the baton was passed really to the Italian Renaissance. That was the great period to be on the planet. And the Vatican happened to be the hub of both the political and religious leadership of that 250-year cycle. Then it got passed to London. Then it got passed to the colonists. Question is now, who will it get passed to? And, that whole thing, even about the 11th house, it might be that it is more of a worldwide kind of thing. I mean, that's the kind of world we live in, right?
More now than ever.
I mean, the Great Pyramid is not exclusive to one country. That's the world.
Right.
So the technology, the unification and everything. So it might just be that the United States is not as dominant. But we've got this debt, man, and that debt is serious. And every day, we don't have to spend money every day, but every day we have to eat. And that one gets me. That one really gets me. When that was formalized, that was a slap to my family memories. And that one didn't sit well at all. So anyway, but these are all things that we have to decide and we have to figure out, right, for what we're going to do. Hope you hold and raise the collective vibration every day with your work and share with us. And Carrie, that's on the podcast. I mean, sometimes we go on there and almost apologize for having to talk about the shadow side. And I know it did, but somebody asked, are you thinking about leaving the United States? And I wanted to say, I'm honest answer, yes, I have been thinking about it. When I did my muscle testing and can I show you? Take just a second here. I found something really cool, and I need to do a video and put this in the community thing. So, I do a lot of muscle testing, right? And I do my little thing where I rub my fingers together. You can do like this. You can do like this. There's all kinds of different ways. Well, I found one that really cool. I use a rebounder, and I, do the little bouncing on my rebounder. And if you put your arms up 45 degrees, this is like a Kundalini thing. And what they do is they do the breath of fire. And you can put your hands, you can put your palms out, you can put your palms in, you can do I do this for this little exercise. So put your arms at 45 degrees up. And they do the breath of fire. I don't do that too much because that's how my heart trouble started, was when I was doing yoga and I did 45 minutes of the breath of fire and I walked away from that with a heart. That didn't make it happen. It was there. It just brought it up. But I do kind of, and to the Kundalini yogis, this is an aura cleansing. exercise. So your hands are up at 45. I've got my fingers like this. And on the rebounder, or just doing it, boy, I have been getting that will tune you in, because it's you're asking is the question in my auric field. And it's like, wow. And just that little bit of movement for me. Somebody mentioned Sun and Mars together. That's an action kind of placement, right? You want to move.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get intuition by sitting and meditating. I get by moving. So even the rebounder, but I'll do this. And then I'm like, I'll say, should I go overseas? And every time I've done it, it says no. So, I wouldn't go until it cleared me to go. That's for sure. But I can still, you think about it. I mean, sure, we think about it. And then some people are like, nope, not going to think about it for 30 seconds. I'm here. The veil is no longer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. That, I've been trying. I've got grounding mat. I've got Faraday cloth. And this thing, I just hadn't helped. Dreamed I meditated in a pyramid this morning. How cool. I love that. Wow, that is great. All right. Blessings to you guys, too. We got to get out of here. Kristin, thanks for the time tonight. Love my
It was so
rebounder.
fun. Yeah, it was so nice to get together and talk Aries ingress and just look at the year. And of course, if anybody has comments or thoughts, the slides will be in the community and you can comment there too.
Let me go back here because somebody asked earlier. If you go back to the homepage and right up here, that is where Kristin is. Right up there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep. Find me
so
there.
If you guys, would like a reading, that's where you can find her. And Kristin, I just, I know I've said this before, but thank you for who you are in the world and for sharing this podcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays and together on Wednesdays. It's been amazing this past year and a little bit working with you.
I appreciate it so much. And honestly, being able to express my obsession for astrology has just been so fun.
Well, you've done a beautiful job. You have earned your spot for sure. So we're working on getting me further and further away, I think.
Oh, no, giving you time for other great things.
Well, that's, and I've invested that in Merriman, and that work has been phenomenal. And everything's in a good spot right now. It really is. But it's just such a delight. You've done a phenomenal job. And as expressed so many times in the comments on the YouTube channel, I mean, people are really picking up on what you're having to say and the way that you're seeing things. And it's just beautiful to see your astrology practice expand.
Thank you so much. It's been so fun. I have not thought of myself as podcasting as being one of the things that I would go for, but here I am loving it all the same.
Well, and see, right there.
Oh, I love it.
Just as we were saying. Yes. Oh, this is great. Oh, so get a rebounder. It is amazing. Seriously. I'm bone on my left knee. So I'm trying to stretch that out as much as possible. So getting out on a really high, rocky, Appalachian hiking trail anymore, the move to and back from California kind of really hurt my knee bad. So I'm just, and it's a perfect way. Like it doesn't affect anything. I can go and go and go on that thing. And it's so good for your heart. NASA has done a bunch of studies. When the astronauts got back from the space station, they put them on rebounders, and you can look it all up. Just look up NASA's information on it. It's some of the best. So, all right. I think we are good here. Yeah, I think we got all of that. So, look, positive stuff, that's the perspective that we have. I mean, we have to have a positive perspective on all of this. And I'm going to try to clear that. There we go. And that is, I mean, day in and day out, that's how we see the world. But we also see it practically. And, it's like we're going to have monetary issues. We're going to have probable food supply issues. So, it's just a matter of deciding on how we fit into it all. But
both sides of the coin, but staying realistic.
The other thing is, too, good old Catherine Ponder, and her meetings in Birmingham, Alabama in 1958, when that little group got together and said, we don't want to participate in this recession.
Yep.
We had 2 people today talk about job prosperity. So,
right.
When Jerome Powell gets up there and says, we're not growing any jobs. Well, Jerome, come over and listen to our podcast. So it is there, and we will stay focused on that perspective with a dose of reality. All right? How about that? Okay. Kristin, thanks for your time tonight. Thank you, everybody. You should have an email with a link to the PDF, and if it's not there when I hang up, I will put it there, and we'll see you on the podcast early in the morning.